Hey everyone, welcome back. Dr. Angela here.
Hi, Dr. Patty.
So in this video, we're gonna cover shingles. A lot of you know what it is, but we're gonna focus in a little bit more. So this is caused by the same virus that causes chickenpox, the varicella virus. And essentially when we get a virus, it lives in our system, but it's usually not active, but under certain conditions, it can reactivate and cause problems. And so this happens anytime we have low immune function. So there's a lot of reasons why our immune system gets taken down. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about that, but essentially anytime our immune system just is struggling, we are at risk for having a reactivation of this chickenpox virus.
Yeah, so like Dr. Angela said, anything that brings your immune system down. So if you know yourself and you just think about all the ways that you feel run down. I always say like another virus that we've talked about before is like a cold sore. And everyone who gets a cold sore, if you ask them, have you been run down? No one says like, no, I've been sleeping great. I've been eating tons of vegetables. Most people, at least in hindsight, can kind of get an idea of like, yeah, I've been working too hard or I was traveling. And that's something I like to bring up because, you know, my age-old saying, the body does not know the difference between a wedding and a funeral. So sometimes you've taken this amazing trip, you know, overseas or, you know, just even a couple hours away, but changing time zones and your circadian rhythm and your bed and all these things to your body feels like stress and kind of can lower your immune system.
Yeah, and maybe it's something amazing, like you're running a marathon for the first time, you know, but all the excess...
That doesn't sound amazing to me. I'm just saying.
Big goal, something new.
But props to all of you out there who love running marathons.
But that's a big physical stress, you know, so something, if we're doing something that's just pushing our body in a way it's really different. You know, sun is another one too. Like if you happen to have a lot of sun exposure that's very different, this could be another reason for a trigger if it was somewhere like on the neck or face, something like that. So just think about that.
One thing I want to share is that I actually had shingles in my early 20s, and I was in college and this strange rash appeared on my back and torso, and I went to the university medical center and they diagnosed me right away. And you know, when we were in medical school, we learned about shingles, and in every textbook it's talked about as being something that happens in the elderly or immunocompromised patients, like really like severely immunocompromised, cancer patients, HIV patients. But I will say that in the last like decade or so, I have had so many younger patients have it. When I got it in my early 20s, it was unheard of. And you know, I'm a chronic worrier. I'm sure I was eating loads of sugar and worrying about finals and worrying about friends and, you know, social life and all the things a 19, 20, 21-year-old worries about. If only then I knew how easy life was, you know?
It's always like that, looking back.
If only. I would love to live a life where I'm only just worrying about who I'm going to see in the cafeteria or what finals are coming up. My goodness. But, you know, it doesn't matter. It's just about like your perspective. So I'm sure that stress, sugar, not sleeping as a young college student, all those things came to it. I had chickenpox as a child, and so that virus got reawakened. But I really want to bring up the fact that it's been interesting as a doctor to see so many younger people, men and women, getting shingles, and I do believe it's because of our higher stress load. I do feel that our world in the last 10 years has become much more stressful.
The pace is a lot faster for sure, and our expectations around how much we work seems to be different.
Definitely. So anything that's going to lower your immune system and, you know, whatever, and that's categorized as anything that's going to really stress your body out. So that's, you know, really one of the main causes of how shingles gets activated.
Yeah, that's our risk essentially. So, you know, we can do things to keep our immune system high, all the things we've talked about in so many videos. And then if we actually get a flare up, if we have shingles show up, there are some very helpful things we can do. Any of our classic antivirals, the natural ones, a lot of times we talk about lysine, that can be very helpful. There's a lot of herbs that can be really helpful. I do like things like St. John's wort, but we've got to be very careful with sun exposure. Sometimes we don't realize that one. So if it's summertime or you're going to be in a very sunny place, being very careful with St. John's wort.
Because it increases sensitivity.
Yeah.
So especially if you've got your, I had a male patient who had shingles, rashes on his, or lesions on his scalp, and he had very, very short hair. So he's somebody, if he was taking St. John's wort, was exposed to the sun, that can sensitize, create more pain.
Yep.
So that's something to keep an eye out for. But in addition to lysine, lemon balm, also known as melissa, is a great herb that is antiviral. Licorice is another antiviral, and that has an added benefit of really supporting the adrenals. Yep. So it'll kind of do double duty. And lemon balm also is really good for helping with stress. So not only antiviral, but with mood.
Calming to the nervous system.
So it's going to have double duty there as well. And that's the beauty of herbs, is that they kind of treat the whole person.
I like vitamin A quite a bit as well, but we just have to be careful with dosing. And so working with your doctor, if you're going to use something like vitamin A, Lomatium as well, we want to be careful just working with your doctor, but they can be very helpful for the viral portion of it. And we'll put all these in the description box as usual for you guys.
But good to remember, vitamin A and Lomatium are two that can create some side effects if taken in too large of a dose.
Or for too long of a period of time.
So good ones, but those are ones, just be a little bit mindful, work with your doctor. Vitamin D is actually, you may not know this, but also an antiviral. So make sure that your blood levels of vitamin D in general are in the good range. And taking vitamin D when your immune system's low can really help with the virus as well.
So all of these are things that can really help heal up those little blisters more quickly, help the rash go away. But another problem that happens is sometimes people have pain ongoing.
Before you go into that, there's 3 more herbs that I really like to use. This is everyone's favorite, elderberry. Elderberry, they've done studies on elderberry being as strong, if not stronger, antiviral to pharmaceutical antivirals. Yeah. So whether that's something like, the swine flu or, avian flu or shingles. So elderberry is great.
Use the non-sweetened ones though, if possible.
Yeah, you're going to find elderberry is really safe for kids too. So you'll find them in glycerites and syrups. And so be careful that they're not sweetened with sugar, because then that sugar is going to lower your immune system further. So get the pure herb. And then I love olive leaf. That's one of my all-time favorites. And my dog's name is Olive, so I always remember that one. And then also an old standby that many of you may have heard of is oil of oregano.
Yep. Hot.
Yeah. So from the Chinese medicine side, if your constitution is hot, or if you're, this is getting down another rabbit hole, but oil of oregano is definitely energetically very hot. So it may not be the right fit for you, but one to put on the list of antivirals. So again, these will all be in the description box below.
But we'll put some homeopathics that are in the description box also. Aconite can be helpful. Ristox can be helpful. There's a few others. We'll put those in the description box.
Belladonna, if your lesions are really hot and red. So we'll list those. But just in summary, I always say the 3 L's: lysine, lemon balm, licorice, elderberry, olive leaf, oil of oregano. And then ones to be a little bit careful of, they're quite strong and can build up: vitamin A and Lomatium, and then vitamin D, as make sure that your levels are good and you can take that as an antiviral. So
that was amazing. Thank you.
I interrupted you, but you were starting to talk about
good. The additions. Well, just what can happen after the rash clears up. Some people will continue to have pain caused by the inflamed nerve. So post-herpetic neuralgia, you'll hear that sometimes too. And so there's some actually very effective treatments for that as well. I love vitamin E for that. Very helpful, very effective. B12 can be really helpful as well.
Yeah, and you can do that as an injection. I've given patients injections of B12 when they're recovering from shingles and still having the numbness and burning and tingling and pain and even a little itching. So B12 orally as well as intramuscular.
And even with the injections, if you have access, you live close by to your doctor, or there's a pharmacy that gives the injections, you could have them daily for a week. That would be a fine thing to do in an acute to really help this pain.
And then basically anything and everything anti-inflammatory, because essentially the nerves have kind of been turned on and they're on fire.
Yep.
And even though the virus is under control and the viral load is down, the aftermath is still there. And so number one, anti-inflammatory diet. So really removing foods from your nutrition that are going to create more inflammation.
So the sugars, the flours, maybe dairy, whatever you're sensitive to normally, take those things out. Alcohol.
And I did do an anti-inflammatory diet video, so we'll link that down and here. So keep an eye, you can watch that.
Yeah, and don't forget things like your essential fatty acids, whatever your favorite ones are to take. Those can be very helpful.
I just did a video of like my top 5 supplements that are good to take for maintenance. And my favorite fish oil, my favorite EFA or essential fatty acid is fish oil, super EFA liquid. So I'll link that below. But if you're plant-based, it could be an algae oil, a flaxseed oil, a perilla seed oil. Those are all also anti-inflammatory. And then as far as some herbs, things like Boswelia, curcumin that we all know and love and talk a lot about. Bromelain, or some of the protease enzymes. Bromelain comes specifically from pineapple
stem. Yep.
But there's other enzymes out there as well.
Yep.
So
those classic like Wobenzyme formulas, serapeptase. We'll put them in the description box for you guys, but they can be very helpful.
So anything to just help reduce that inflammation and put that fire out a little bit, because it is very common for, like I said, the virus to be down, but then the pain
nerves
to still be there. Yeah. And then just a few like little Band-Aid, these aren't a cure, but just anything that's soothing while you're either going through active or, the post-neuralgia, a little bit of calendula. Yeah. You can do that as a salve, in a beeswax olive oil base, or you can even take calendula tea bags, soak them, cool them, put them on the lesion.
Chamomile's another one. I'm Greek, and the group everything was like, boil the chamomile, soak the cloth. Oh yeah, everything.
I didn't know that Greeks were into chamomile.
Yep.
What do you know? And then aloe.
Aloe's a great one, very soothing.
Yeah, if you can get the actual plant, cut it open, like slice open the
jelly kind of.
Yeah, get into the jelly and kind of just smooth that on to the lesion. Good for mosquito bites too. So any, cool compress, oatmeal bath, things like that are just gonna like really soothe and calm while you're healing and taking these other herbs. And then ultimately, I have to say, work on where this came from.
Those underlying causes.
Yeah, the root causes. You gotta work on that. But hopefully you found some of these tips helpful, and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video.
Share it with someone who you think this might help. Subscribe if you haven't already. You want to get notified every week.
And make sure to comment below if you have any questions or comments, or just want to share something about your experience and your health and healing journey. We're so happy to connect with all of you. And we'll see you very soon.
We'll see you very soon. Keep the comments coming in terms of what you want to learn about as well. We really try to make videos for you when you ask us those questions. We'll see you very soon. Thanks, everyone.